Good afternoon. Thank you for your presence, and I appreciate this opportunity to present the vision of Mosul Foundation, which is a non-governmental organization, non-profit organization, as it is stated out on the screen. I am very happy to be in this place to bring to you an accurate picture of what has been and what's still happening in Mosul. Civic society needs to be able to bring its difficulties and problems directly to an international audience when it is no longer possible to communicate and reach government. Let alone when the government is itself the main problem or the main cause of these difficulties. At the same time, the United Nations needs to hear the facts directly from civic society institutions if it is going to be successful in its difficult task of restoring local and regional peace and security, leading ultimately to the global stability that we all seek. The population of Mosul cannot find peace and security with any of the institutions of the Iraqi state. And with their city lying in ruins, they cannot find a place to shelter. Security has been a serious issue in Mosul since 2003. First, because of the sectarian policies of the Iraqi security forces that humiliated the population and refused to listen to their peaceful demands and enacted a policy of detention without trial. Second, during the ISIS occupation following the utter failure of the Iraqi government to defend the city. And finally, during the battle to retake the city, a battle in which the Iraqi government ignored all the advice and warnings of military experts and encircled ISIS inside the old city, used excessive force and random dump weapons to kill more than 40,000 innocent civilians. Iraqi government forces have been implicated by the United Nations and a multitude of human rights organizations in this crime that has resulted in the destruction of the city. The catastrophic price for the battle in terms of lives and the destruction of the city infrastructure can be appreciated when compared with the retaking of the neighboring city, Tal Afar, in which ISIS were allowed to withdraw, and the town was peacefully retaken, sparing the city and its population. Having said that, Mosul is not going back to square one. The political result of this battle is that the city is once more in the hands of sectarian militias that have now been incorporated within the apparatuses of the state, levying taxes and conducting acts of kidnapping, extrajudicial executions, and the confiscation or destruction of private property while wearing police and army uniforms. Government-sponsored militias are actively changing the political map of the city to influence the results of any future elections, a behavior not befitting a member state of the United Nations and is more reminiscent of total chaos that follows the failure and collapse of the state, as was the case in Bosnia and Kosovo, for example. Today, the sons of Mosul must prove their innocence from the accusations that they cooperated with ISIS that can be made by any militiaman, resulting in a swift death in front of the iPhone cameras. These are, of course, some of the images perhaps you've already seen about Mosul. This is Western Mosul, the historic sector of Mosul, which has been absolutely destroyed. These are all houses of families consisting of at least 5, 7, sometimes 10 individuals. Total destruction. You can't, I am from Mosul, I can't tell where this street is. It's beyond recognition. The destruction of Mosul has been estimated at anything between 70% and 100%. The coffers are empty, and the government is corrupt. No money from inside, no money coming from outside, as the government is not trusted by international donors. Who will rebuild Mosul, and with what funds? The answers are becoming clearer to the people of Mosul. Mosul will never be rebuilt. The results would be catastrophic for the city of Mosul and its population. These include the ethnic cleansing on sectarian lines to change the demographics of the population, the destruction of the culture of religious and ethnic tolerance, for which the city is renowned and which the region is in much need for, the removal of a major center of civilizations in the region that has long acted as an intellectual safety valve, the creation of a drug economy based on the influence of powerful warlords, the rise of a vice-based economy, mysterious monies made available, and this is happening already, to buy land and real estate in Mosul at tempting prices, the transformation of the character of the city's population from that of an ancient center of civilization to one of refugee camp dwellers, and the creation of a new generation of millions of uneducated, helpless young people and extremists, the destruction of the cultural, artistic, intellectual, and artisans' folk heritage of Mosul society. These changes will not be reversible with time. This chronic political failure and the record levels of corruption in Iraq have transformed the institutions of the state, constitution, parliament, the judiciary, and the security forces, have transformed them all into an ethnic sectarian battleground. This has crippled the instruments of the state and made it impossible for the government to be held accountable in the normal way. The situation is made worse by the inability or unwillingness of the Iraqi government to follow the norms that govern the relationship between government and its population, as defined by the United Nations. The situation also makes it makes it near impossible for Mosul civic society to make any form of meaningful contribution towards finding a solution based on the experience of other nations. The destroyed city of Mosul, named Hiroshima's twin, is facing a stark conundrum. No redevelopment without scrupulous, competent administration. No honest administration without security, and no security without the removal of the state-sponsored militias from the city. The cost of this conundrum is colossal. Security is the key to the rehabilitation of Mosul. The population of the city cannot find peace and security with any of the institutions of the Iraqi state. And the only remaining viable option left in the face of the annihilation of the city is to seek international protection for the city. In the light of these considerations, Mosul society, represented by its professional sons and daughters, calls the United Nations to declare Mosul a disaster city and provide protection for its citizens to fill the following vital duties. Number one, provide security and international supervision on the removal of militias from the city. Two, oversee the removal of corrupt government-appointed officials from city offices and institutions. Three, enable civic society to form a temporary political administration to run the city and prepare for future elections to determine the nature of the city governing administration. Four, oversee the allocation of part of the national oil revenues as an oil for redevelopment and compensation program to be deposited in a special fund together with any international donations. And five, international supervision of the funding and execution of all redevelopment projects. This catastrophic state of affairs was predicted by the Mosul Foundation before the battle to retake Mosul. The foundation warned of the results of this battle and put forward a realistic roadmap to deal with this situation. Today, and after what we had predicted sadly became a reality, we are advocating for this roadmap with the support of tens of thousands of the sons and daughters of Mosul from all walks of life and from all professionals and specializations. The Mosul Foundation hopes that you and the United Nations Agency will respond positively to this legitimate and just request. And thank you very much for your generous attention.